The superhero genre is often defined by its themes of power and identity, because behind the symbol of every mask, cape and costume is an idea, a set of core values that isn't just meaningful for the character's external environment, but for themselves. As a result, Batman's duality and darkness often allows him to openly criticize or romanticize these themes without being transgressive in any way. Every Batman writer loves to explore the question, what does Batman mean for Bruce Wayne? Frank Miller made it into an unconscious adventurous force that he's helpless to. Tom King interpreted Batman as the symbolic manifestation of Bruce Wayne's suicidal thoughts. And Christopher Nolan controversially made Batman into an identity he has to let go in order to move on from his trauma. But what about the Batman from the DC animated universe? Dun 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 dun! Bruce Timm, Paul Dini and company has a very specific opinion that Batman is Bruce Wayne's real identity, and they often indulge in the tragic connotations to the point that by Batman Beyond, he's just an old man in a cave who's alienated everyone he's ever loved.
What you wanted from me, I couldn't give to anyone. Tell me something I don't know.
As a result, this interpretation expands the question by framing it under an ultimatum. The life of Batman comes at the sacrifice of love, because the only emotional continuity that can survive are the needs of the symbol, not the needs of the host.
I'm poisoned, Dana. Cursed.
You're silly, McGinnis.
This is anchored sharply with the ending of Terry McGinnis' story from Epilogue, where he chooses to learn from Bruce's mistake and negotiate with this deal. But for Bruce, this exchange is presented with severely darker terms than normally expected. Where Terry chose Dana, destiny chooses Bruce. Being with Andrea was never a considerable option, and that fatalistic cliché is what frames the story of Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. The story is broken into three main distinct acts. The first introduces Bruce's limited prospects.
I'd watch out for Brucey if I were you girls. He forgets your phone number.
In present day, he denies himself a chance for real relationships, and in his private moments, he simply refers to the image of his parents, which towers over him as his psychological master. But in the past, Bruce stands above not in darkness, but in light, and then becomes distracted by Andrea, who's talking to her mother's gravestone.
Who are you talking to?
My mother.
The contrast in their relationship with the grave is an important image because by seeing how Andrea is in dialogue with hers, it highlights how one-way Bruce's relationship is with his. He only listens since death is his invisible overlord. But within this moment, Andrea makes Bruce curious about life. She speaks for her mother, and these words opens what was previously foreclosed in Bruce's.
I can imagine how she'd reply. I can hear her, like she's right there.
I talked to my parents.
What'd you say?
I made a vow.
But this is also very much an upset of cosmic power. The fact that we're looking at the past with the knowledge of the present forces us to also recognize the linear fatalism that restricts Bruce's future.
What was her name? Anne, Andy, Andrea? Yes, Andrea Beaumont. Now there was a sweet number.
The film tightens on this theming by spelling it out in the second act. Andrea and Bruce visit the Future City exhibition, and is defined by its domestic dream of the stable 1950s-esque nuclear family. The Batmobile was also to be an ordinary car available for the common modern man, and the entire stage is populated by robots enacting these fantasies. This is a forbidden dream, a future that is designed to be both sharply a contrast and an inversion of the real Gotham that we know, but it also materializes the shared vision that Bruce and Andrea has.
What the heck am I doing, Alfred? This isn't part of the plan. I must be going nuts.
But regardless, this thought is then interrupted by crime. Bruce fails to beat some bikers up because of the fright in Andrea's face, and the mob also begins to squeeze Beaumont's world. In the same way Andrea's father owes money to the mob, Bruce owes his life to the vow he made for his parents. Therefore, the foreclosure of Bruce and Andrea's dreams comes from upsetting these arrangements. Consequently, there's two ways to interpret this. Either the connection between Bruce and Andrea was always doomed because their love was a form of ignorance, or they're victims to an outward, almost spiritual-like supernatural calling. The film often explicitly plays with the latter, like when Bruce tries to renegotiate with his parents at their grave during an angry storm.
But I didn't see this coming. I didn't count on being happy.
And when a swarm of bats interrupt Bruce's proposal to Andrea. Everyone's story has already been written in advance. Upsetting it means fighting destiny itself. Bruce and Andrea loses their happy domestic future because her father tried to run and so he's killed. The men who murdered him were also destined for death too because they became Andrea's vow. Well, with nothing left, Bruce returns to his mission and allows himself to die so Batman can be born, even scaring Alfred in the process. Therefore, there's a damning linearity that structures the themes and plotting of the entire story. Like the robot automatons pre-programmed to perform what is expected in the future city, every character lacks agency because the way the stage is set, it won't let them.
I'm not saying it's right or even sane, but it's all I've got left. So either help me or get out of the way.
You know I can't do that.
Look what they did to us! What we could have had! They had to pay!
But Andy, what will vengeance solve?
If anyone knows the answer to that, Bruce, it's you.
Like when Batman confronts Andrea, she pushes him away, and when he leaves, she immediately cries. This isn't what she wants, but it's not her choice. It's not Bruce's choice. It's the choice of the grand programming of the story. Even a minor character like Arthur Reed is destined for punishment for his past.
I was running out of money and asked Beaumont for help. He said no.
So you sold him to the mob.
Everything contributes to one big focused question. Can anyone escape this? Or at least, what does escaping even mean? The third act presents a breakpoint that approximates an answer through the Joker, the only character who escaped this ruthless cycle without dying.
Oh no!
In the past, he killed Andrea's father, so he's the last man left in Andrea's list. But he's also integral to the programming of Batman's mythology.
Let me go, we'll both die!
Joker is his archenemy and a cosmic linchpin that he always has to return to. The climax of the story even features the two of them fighting as opposed to Batman and Phantasm, and when Andrea gets her hand on Joker, she doesn't kill him because she can't. He survives because on one hand, unlike everyone else around him, he finds it funny. He's able to escape the predestined ransom because the universe can't take away what he doesn't care. But on the other hand, on a metatextual level, he's too important for Batman's brand. The whole film is oddly functional as a piece of meta-commentary of Batman's narrative properties. There are no stories if Bruce doesn't become Batman, or if Joker dies, or if he finds love and, more importantly, become happy. The audience's entertainment comes from Batman's misery in the same way Bruce and Andrea found leisure vicariously experiencing the dream of Gotham's future. So these unchangeable certainties ends up being spotlighted by the film's story. Although this interpretation is only really supported if you're willing to look at the rest of the story through the lens of how predictable the ending is.
Joker!
Within the flames of the future city past, Andrea and Joker disappears, and while being alone, Bruce finds Andrea's locket in the cave. They are now two people accepting their lonely destinies.
Do you want to be alone?
I am.
As the story resets, ending once again on the note of Batman in Gotham City swinging into action, just as he did at the start of the story. In the same way the characters are trapped in a linear loop, so are the audience, and like the Joker, equilibrium is achieved by recognizing this. On the other hand, this ending is merely an artistic necessity. The story has to return back to the main status quo because it fundamentally cannot interrupt the main animated series. Therefore, if you don't step out and look at it metatextually, obviously the more preferred reading is to treat all of this as one sincere exploration of Batman's free will. Batman to Bruce is like Phantasm to Andrea.
You still following your dad's orders?
The way I see it, the only one in this room controlled by his parents is you.
Someone who still sees themselves as a child without a parent and is unable to compose a new identity to contextualize that pain meaningfully. They could have found it in each other, but they still ended up referring back to their parents. So both characters, despite their influence and abilities, are still children that symbolize failure. The only difference is that Batman doesn't kill, and in that appreciation of life, perhaps that's where he succeeds, and it's what it means to escape.
I always feared you would become that which you fought against. You walk the edge of that abyss every night. But you haven't fallen in, and I thank heaven for that.
This is obviously the more intended connotation, because functionally this story's most practical ambition is to mainly reinforce the themes and meanings of what is established, so then future stories can draw upon this extra context. But regardless, there's two very immensely strong angles of the same question. Batman Mask of the Phantasm is a bit of a kaleidoscope because despite how everyone are helpless victims to a cosmic invisible destiny, it doesn't pass judgment on the main characters. The destiny of Batman and the unchanging world he's trapped in is something that we as the audience find both entertainment and inspiration in. Therefore, if you twist it one way, you get one set of patterns, but if you twist it another, a whole other set appears. Batman within Batman Mask of the Phantasm is either a fictional metatextual character trapped by the cliches of his own stories, or very sincerely, this is a tale of a man who dug a small way out by ensuring his vow for the dead is about the preservation of life. These two opposing readings oddly complement each other with a unifying answer. Batman is a ransom on Bruce's soul.
You think you know everything about me, don't you?
Spider-Man.